now you're at home, Cannon's at home,
Right.
Elena's at school. Tell me what happens then.
Right. So this is where I need help from everybody.
Yeah. And you can get help. Like I said, I've had some high-level informants that have told me some horrific things, and we've had to relocate them. We can get different names. But to do that, to kick that in motion, we need to know the story. We can't just say,
Right.
oh, someone got really important information.
Right. Well, that's where I would need someone to help guide me through this, because I want to help more than anything. But
That's why I'm here, because I'm representing Denver FBI, and then I have the ability to pull resources from Quantico, which is our behavior analysis unit. Everything comes out of there.
Right.
It's called CERD, which is our incident response group. So this was a big enough case that the supervisor of the FBI asked me to come down from Denver, and I get all my training out there. So you're not going to have better resources in this room right now. And I'm not bragging.
Right.
I've just been doing this stuff for a long time.
Right.
So if you tell me what happens and then you need protection, we can do all that stuff. So DEA doesn't have those capabilities, ATF doesn't. No. DEA just investigates drugs, and they're very good at it.
Right.
But the FBI, we're now worldwide, and we have offices Bogota to Russia to China to wherever. So we get a lot more funding because when September 11th happened, that changed everything for us. We were the nation's #1 law enforcement agency before then, but they gave us so many more resources since then.
Right.
And so I am specialized in missing kids and unusual homicides, including serial killings and whatever else. So I didn't get in right away on your case, but I have been working it for the past couple of weeks.
No one's talking about it.
Well, I'm here now, and whatever you tell me, the worst thing I can do for people like you is if you have a story that requires your protection for the FBI, it would not be good for me to run out and say, oh, Letecia told me this, and that's not how it works. If this can help us find Gannon, we'll do whatever we can.
Okay. Not like I just need like protection for.
Okay. Well, you can get that, but we have to know the story first.
So how am I supposed to get help talking to someone first before we talk to you? Because I'm willing to do that.
So here's your deal. If you need help, and if you want to go through the court process, that's fine. We leave, and then you work through the court process. But then it just becomes the whole focus of this, Letecia, right now you're the only one. You're the last one. You're the last adult with him. You're the last adult we know about with him. You have not told anybody anything else to lead us. We have been trying to work with Val to say, what does she say in that?
Yeah.
And the Quincy Brown thing and whatever else.
I was mad at him about all that. But a lot of it was keys to help me. But it should have been. I could have just reached out to someone to be like terrified for myself. That would have been. Also, what I can help you with can also help you with something else you might already work with. I'm just saying,
Well, Letecia, you've got to give me something here to work with. If you want to go through the court process, like I said on here, the last question, if you want to stop at any time, you are more than welcome to stop and say.
But it says you can have one present to talk to you.
Yep. And that will kick in the court process, and then we're done, which is fine. And if that's what you want. Okay, but the whole, if you need protection and that sort of thing, I can't get you there without you giving me something. So I listened to all the calls with Al, and I've seen the crime scene reports. Okay, what happened in the bedroom was not Gannon slinging his blood on the wall.
Well, that's totally like not even to do with anything.
Yeah.
That's why I'm so like upset about bedrooms and all those things. Because I understand you're an expert. I know that. But I'm telling you that I'm gonna need like protection. That's it. It's not me. I'm not the person.
Well, but if you're not the person, the charges won't be different. Okay, if you allowed someone else to come in and do the things to Gannon that we know happened to him, you're just as guilty.
I didn't allow anyone, and I don't know of anything like you're talking about to be happening to you. I do know that there is something I can tell you that can help you or help me, help everyone. But help.
Well, so let me tell you where I am. Okay. Like I said, I've been 23 years with the FBI. For the last 20, I've been working violent crime. And I've worked some of the worst cases. And it kind of messed me up a little bit, to be honest.
Right.
Seeing what I've seen. And I worked 20 years of bank robberies.
Mm-hmm.
So I always thought that you were going to have, I'm the FBI, I'm the good guy, bad people go rob banks. And that's not how it is. I've had to help arrest other FBI agents, police officers, people from the church, school resource officers. I mean, it doesn't matter what you do.
Mm-hmm.
And on the other side, some of the bank robbers, one of them came out after serving a 10-year sentence, and we had it off just fine, even though, you know, we were on opposite sides of the fence. The thing that I have seen, though, throughout is when something very bad happens, people think they can't recover from it. And I do not think you are a bad person. That's why I'm here. No, I don't. I've seen bad
and I know
people.
you told people that to get them to help you, but
No,
I'm not.
I would not have this approach with you if I thought you were a bad person. I think something bad happened. And I think that what I've seen a lot, whether it's you think that you can get out if you do this or this or this, that's where you are now. And you're hoping that one of these things can save you. They're not going to be able.
What do you mean? What were you talking about?
There was nobody else there. We've looked at the alarms, we've looked at the motions, we've looked at the detectors.
The alarms are already covered up.
The alarms were already covered
Yes.
up. Okay. But
sir, I'm telling you, what you have is not you. I know you say you wouldn't sit here and say this to me if I wasn't whatever. I'm telling you, it is true. I would not and did not, did not. And with you guys having my phone, I would have thought that you would have had some of the apps looked into. Now, I would have thought that sometimes when I talked to Albert, you might have listened to him or whatever, it could have been some help and indication. I really did. Because I couldn't come at you and just tell you if you say there's somebody not involved. I could walk you through it and prove it to you, and you guys have already had this predetermination. I don't mean you. I have the first time I spoke to you. You guys have already had this predetermination. That's what's going to happen. It's already in your mindset.
Yeah, because we have no other evidence pointing us elsewhere. So if there was a shred of evidence, Letecia, that pointed us to some other person, we would be all over it. As soon as Quincy Brown came out of your mouth, it doesn't take long.
So you know 100% he's in Mexico right now.
Yes, we do now. Mm-hmm.
All right.
Because we did get our legal, we have what's called a legal attaché.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Where that alone, and I get that you're saying you have someone who looked into that and knows that, that's where I know in my heart that I can't trust to get help that very week.
You're saying Quincy Brown's not in Mexico?
That's not what I'm saying. But you would have said another word, like something in between that would have gave that off. Like, you wouldn't have said he's just in Mexico and didn't do anything. You would have said, oh, did he come back here for a reason? You wouldn't have said any of that. You would have known some other things too. Or maybe you have and you just can't tell me those things. And that's okay. But
well, we don't, in a case like this, so tips will come in, the public will call in. And then, of course, you and Al are primary interest because you're the parents of the missing kid. And 90% of the time, when a kid goes missing, it has to do with one of the parents. That's it. That we work on probability.
Okay.
So, and especially with you, then you're there. You say he went to a neighbor's house. That's the very first thing you say. And then there's no thought that somebody took him.
So there's no thought?
There's no thought for law enforcement.
But you don't figuring what happened leading up to the days before. Nothing to do with Gannon, nothing to do with them. Okay, in terms of me and Gannon. I love Gannon with all my heart. And so you can sit here and say 90% parents, this. Okay.
I'm not saying you don't love him.
I love him.
I'm saying that even I have had times when my son rolled a basketball underneath that I wanted to turn around and do something, and then I would have regretted it later. But
what you're saying to me is, what you think is that I hurt Gannon.
And I don't think it was intentional.
Okay, but I didn't hurt Gannon. Okay, and I didn't either intentional or not intentional hurt Gannon. I did not. That's just not what happened. Okay, and I had this conversation with you just to see for a second if I could get help from you.
But you can. How can you expect me to help you, Letecia, if you're not going to tell me what happened? You can't go. Let me tell you. You can unlock the entire resources of the FBI right now. I've told you that. But then you say that you're not willing to do it, whether you don't trust me or you think that there's these.
But you already told me someone wasn't there based on an alarm.
That's from what we can see. Yes, okay. Movement in the basement.
Right.
Movement upstairs.
But you've already told me that based on that. Okay. But what you're not realizing is there's 2 sensors on that home. Okay. Two that can easily be manipulated. Easily. Okay. And if you even knew anything about prior, you would be thinking a lot differently. But see, that's why I can't talk to you about these things, because you already have predetermined what you think. It doesn't
matter what I predetermined.
But you said intentionally, unintentionally, and that's not the case.
I'm not saying I'm right 100% of the time. It doesn't. You need to just disregard whatever I think, or really whatever anybody else thinks. If you have a truth, and if you have something that will help us find him, really, to hell with me and everybody else and what we think. You should just cast that aside. All I can follow is the facts of the case as they're told to me. And so for me to go somewhere else besides the facts, I have to then go back to the facts to check it. So when I say something like...
to you in private, but you can't tell Albert about anything that led up to it or anyone else.
Albert will not know anything.
I understand that, but I will. But I need your help, and I need to know that you tell me there's resources, you tell me whatever, okay? I know you're saying you got whatever, this, and that, and all that. But I really am going to need help. Like, a lot. Where do you? Don't base it on some alarm report, because they can easily manipulate it.
Well, we're not just...
They easily were. I know, I'm saying when you're saying no one else was there.
So,
when you say that, don't base it on that, please. I'm begging you. Because that was not even remotely. Was not even. I mean,
Mr. Grusin?
Mr. Grusin, I just remind you that you're still under oath.
At the beginning of that portion of the interview, Mr. Grusin, you go through a description of if you allowed somebody else to come into the house and do bad things to Gannon, then you're just as guilty. Why were you going down that path and explaining that to her?
Well, it had to do with the numerous stories that she had told us and Al over the phone, and just whatever complicity she was going to make with me, I was wanting to move more directly towards her involvement. So just saying that if she was going to introduce yet another person, like the last one that she introduced was the pregnant lady, and it didn't really have any legs to stand on, I didn't want her to go down that path again.
So was that you trying to encourage her to talk about her actions as opposed to pointing it out to different people?
Yes.
Okay. What about the discussion you had where you're talking about the good guys, the bad guys dynamic and that whole thing, arresting bank robbers? What was that purpose of that?
To tell Letecia basically that she was a good person and that good people can do bad things.
In that portion of the interview, she says she couldn't just come at you and tell you what had happened. What was your take from that particular point of the interview?
Well, I don't know if this is the same thing you're talking about, but she told me that she had keys or some type of keys she was trying to give us, but that she couldn't tell us directly what happened. And to me, that meant that she had been giving us hints along during the different phone calls through Al, because she had already told me that she knew that I and others were listening.
That's exactly what I was talking about, where she's telling you basically that I've been trying to give hints throughout this whole thing. Were there, in fact, some hints in her various statements?
Absolutely.
Can you give us examples of that, please?
She mentioned that Gannon was not in Colorado in either the phone call on February 19th or 21st. I think it was the 19th. And then she told Al that he's not in the U.S. And we later learned that was close to being true. She also, as we've spoken of numerous times, described the injuries, and she was even describing time periods that we were interested in, like the night before the 2 trips to Costco and what had happened in between those 2 trips. And then when she would come home, what happened after she arrived back at the house. And yeah, so when you compile them all together, she was describing a lot of what had happened separately through the investigation being done by El Paso County Sheriff's Office.
And when you talk about that it was almost true that Gannon wasn't in the United States, are you referring to where Gannon was later found on the essentially banks of a river that flows into the Gulf of Mexico?
Yes.
Okay, down in Florida. Why did you tell her that you don't think it was intentional? What, in the way you're implying it in that statement is you don't think what she did to Gannon was intentional. Why'd you say that?
Well, in her first statement that I was present for with Al on the 13th of February, she said that Gannon's first injury in her timeline was that he cut his foot on Saturday. And then she went on to other things that had happened. And in my experience with domestic violence, I had seen that an accident might precede something intentional. And I was giving her the opportunity to say that if she wanted to.
Was that essentially you building it out for her to feel better about telling you what actually happened again?
Yes, and still just trying to find any factual information from her on injuries to Gannon when they might have occurred, and it's much easier to talk about an accident than something intentional.
Okay. The next section that I want to talk about is right after this. Do you remember her talking about she reached out to people to go places?
Yes.
Let's go ahead and play that. It's at timestamps 1:46:45 through 1:48:30. So going directly from here to 1:48:30.
So you care about Gannon.
I care about Gannon. I have reached out every day offering for people to go in these certain places to get even insight to see. I every day ask, hey, can you go do this? Can someone meet with you?
So you've asked someone to go look for him?
Right, like I reached out and I asked Albert, I said, hey, can you meet me? Let me tell you about this and let's go to this location to look. I've asked all these.
What location do you think he's at now, Gannon?
No, I'm just saying like
No,
in
but
general.
I'm asking you.
In
right
general.
now. Where do you think he is right now?
I don't know exactly. I don't know,
Well, where do you know him to last?
but I am 99% confident Gannon is alive.
Okay. Letecia, where do you know him to last be?
I want to help her, but I'm in a room and you've already talking about all this and the courts and it's me against everybody else.
So here's the deal. once this thing goes through the courts, you talk about that. You're the only one to be with him. You think you're going to be able to tell a story.
Story?
It might be a true story.
God, sir.
But
Story?
listen, I've listened to a lot of your stories, and I don't know what else to tell them.
Yeah, okay, that's because I was mad at him. Had nothing, I already knew.
But I've seen what you told the news reporter. I've listened to what you told El Paso about the sex assault that happened in the house.
I already knew that you guys were listening to him.
Yeah.
So I said that because
So-
I was angry.
But what I think I can offer you today is some help.
Okay.
So in the beginning of that portion, Mr. Grusing, she's talking about, she's been trying to reach out to get people to go places. Do you know of any effort she made to reach out to give information, factual information that could be acted on?
I don't.
So in this, basically in this interview, do you also go through a portion where you're describing that you're looking at her stories and they're just not making sense?
Correct.
I'm going to jump to 1 hour, 51 minutes and 40 seconds and play 1 hour, 56 through 1 hour, 56:24.
And so I'm looking at your story, the ones that you've told to Al, the ones that you've said in the media, of hitting your head. When you hit your head, you didn't see what happened. And then when someone else takes Gannon, or when he's riding a bike and he hits his head and stuff like
Look,
that.
I didn't buy. I just told you I was saying that to Albert because I was upset that he wasn't listening to me, that I did not hurt Gannon.
I don't think you intended to hurt Gannon at all.
There's no,
No, I'm not saying you did, or he hurt himself. Something bad happened in his ring. Have you seen you helped clean it off the wall? We know that.
this here, what you're talking about is completely irrelevant. About the whole
Well, then-
thinking bad, whatever.
Tell me about, if it's irrelevant, Letecia, help me. Because there's a big blood pool in the corner, there's spray on the wall.
Because if I tell you anything about any of that, all you're going to say to me is, hey, da, da, da.
If you didn't do it, no, I will be your advocate. Because why, do we know each other?
No, but
Why would I care? If you didn't do it, and it helps me find Gannon,
I didn't do it.
okay, well then help me find out who did it.
Who did what?
That's a Gannon in his
Done
room.
what to Gannon in his room?
There's a pool of blood in the corner.
Okay.
That's Gannon's blood.
Okay. So you're saying now this is where I have a hard time knowing what it is. You're like, okay, trust you or not, right? You're saying there's a pool of blood. Albert said saucer size of blood, because I'm sure you had him say all this, because I'm sure you were there or whatever. Okay. In his room, and you said something about, what'd you say? Then, if that's your whatever, your expert advice or
There's
whatever,
more blood.
okay, then where do you think that I had any involvement with Gannon, and where did he go? That's where it has to click at some point. That
And that's what I listened to you do that to Al, to where you're making him guess what happened to Gannon.
I don't want him to guess.
Well, no, you're asking me to guess.
No, I was asking the question, sir. I wasn't trying to get you. I was just saying in general, asking the question. I want help with people understanding. I tried to give any insight, help, clue, anything, but I can't because they know my daughter, everyone, my family, the mom, everyone. And you can think that.
But right now, Letecia, I mean, you can go down that road, but it's not going to save you in court.
What?
Because you're the last adult with him.
So,
And nobody else, just let me try to
I'm
protect you. I'm not trying to hurt you here. This is actually protecting you. If you don't tell us where to go investigate,
Mhm.
then nobody's going to investigate for you. You're the last adult with him. You told a lot of lies about all these injuries. from
not
his
to, I
foot.
didn't tell lies to you or to any police officer.
Did a sex assault happen in the house?
I didn't tell any lies to you or a police officer.
So we don't have anybody to chase though if we don't chase you. Do you understand?
But if you chase me, okay, and you do this to me, people are protected because you guys aren't going to protect everybody. People are protected.
We can protect people. We can protect you, family, if this is involved. Now, I've worked South American death groups. I've worked gangsters. I've worked organized crime.
Mm-hmm.
None of that stuff rings true with what happened here. I mean, how is a very organized gang going to come into a house in Colorado Springs?
You said a house. Why does it have to be in the house? See, that's where
where he
you're
last was.
Oh.
Are you going to make me guess where he was then?
No, I'm telling you. You're not going to listen to me. You already just said the last was in the house.
But you're going back to you care what I think. You shouldn't care what I
I do
think.
care what you think. You want to know why? Because I care about how people think of me, because I am not that kind of person. That's why.
And if you can point me to a different person, then I can help you.